Hey guys, Sadie here. Before we get started, I want to thank my friends over at Polar Bear Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Guys, I'm so excited because the weather, it's finally getting nice. And I don't want to jinx anything, but you know what we're going to be doing before too long? We're going to be turning our air conditioning units on, and that is going to be amazing. How you feeling about yours? Maybe last year's a little bit rickety and you thought, dang, I hope we make it through the summer. And then you did. Don't risk it again. Don't be miserable. Call my friends at Polar Bear Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Locally owned and operated, family owned and operated, veteran owned and operated. And they have hundreds of 5-star Google reviews that you can go on and read for yourself if you don't believe me. They've got great incentives, and putting a new AC unit in your home, that'll add so much value to your home. Plus, your family is going to be comfortable. Another thing that I love about Polar Bear Plumbing, Heating, and Air, you don't even have to talk to anybody. You guys, I love this technology more and more. Although they're a wonderful family and so kind, they also just have a chat. Go to polarbearpha.com and you can start an instant chat, or you can text with Polar Bear Plumbing, Heating, and Air. You can pick up the phone and give them a call. You can send them an email, and you can get an instant estimate. So don't get overwhelmed when it comes to getting a new AC unit for your home, because at Polar Bear Plumbing, Heating, and Air, it's professionalism at its finest, and they care about their My gosh, I'm struggling today. And they care about their customers. So get ready to turn the furnace off and crank up that brand new air conditioner. I bet it's going to have that new smell to it too. I'm jealous. Call them today or go online to polarbearpha.com and mention the podcast when you call them. It's Polar Bear Plumbing, Heating, and Air, a proud sponsor of the Sadie and Friends podcast.
I'm going to say the thing you're not supposed to say.
Let's talk about marriage.
They have like a 2-second rebound rate and you're back doing the next pain in the ass thing.
Parenting. Oh my gosh.
They have sucked the pretty right out of me. They treat me like it, and I do their laundry. Lucky me.
Sex.
I'm caught between two evils. I generally like to take the one I never tried.
Scary stuff like ghosts. I know it's totally out of left field, but just go with me on this.
Boo, you whore.
Love.
I give you what you need. That's all. I'm talking about taking care of each other the best you can. What's wrong with taking care of a woman? She takes care of you.
Friendships.
Wink and her necklace says best friends forever.
Actually, you want it to say forever? I don't think you guys will be best friends forever, no offense. But sometimes you grow apart, and maybe she'll find a new best friend. They end up doing everything together.
To talk about today, Sadie.
Tell me.
Vacations and how old people vacation. And how I have gotten, I mean, I'm back after a week in Palm Desert. You know, for years, for all the years that you and I have worked together, I have gone out in the springtime to Palm Desert, California, because my in-laws have a place out there, and that's where we go, and it's fabulous. But I get older, and they get older, and it takes forever to make a damn decision.
See, it's older people and then big parties. Never go on a vacation with a bunch of people, because it takes forever. You're right, to make one decision. So how was your vacation this last week? It was fine. We sat around. We played cards. It was a little chilly by Palm Desert standards, upper 60s. You know, it was nice to play golf, but I'm too old and fat to play golf, so I don't play that much anymore. And it was too cool for pool weather. So we sat around and looked at the green grass and the palm trees, and we played cards, and we watched Fox News, and we did the things that the old people do. In fact, we would build an entire day around where we're going to eat. Oh, I do that, and it doesn't even need to be a vacation.
I mean, it's like, okay, we're going here for lunch, and the whole damn day is planned around.
Won't eat too much.
We're going to Cibon for lunch, and that's where we went, Cibon. And
okay.
And what?
Out of the week you were gone.
Yes.
What was the most fun thing you did while you were on the trip? Was it food? I think food is great. I get excited when I travel and get to eat food.
It was food, and we ate a lot. We ate at some very nice restaurants and ate lots of food, and that was kind of it. It was very busy. The desert valley, as they call it, was very busy because the big fancy tennis tournament was in Indian Wells. And it's Palm Springs and Palm Desert and Indio and Indian Wells and there's a couple other cities that are all kind of, you know, each of these cities are only about 50,000 people each, but the entire desert's like 500,000 people, and it's all kind of up and down I-10 there, and all the cities you can't tell when you're leaving one and going into another. And it's a beautiful place. But the big fancy tennis tournament that they do there each year was going on. And I mean, that brings in hundreds of thousands of people.
Oh, so it was kind of like a lot of people.
It was very people-y. And all the restaurants we tried to go to were very people-y. We went to the Daily Grill and I had a fabulous Reuben. Just so you know, I mean, that's all we did was we planned our days around where we're going to eat. Then we're going to play cards. Oh, but I'm telling you, the president's speaking on this night at this time. So we have to be home in time for that. And it was like an old person vacation.
I love those vacations when you don't have any agenda. It's just like I'm married to somebody, as you know, I am married to somebody who is very like, okay, at 8:01, we have to be outside for the shuttle. At 8:12, the shuttle will depart. At 8:45, we will get to our destination. Everyone needs to meet where the X is on the map. I mean, like, he is the most, to work for me, a vacation, it should be, I just want to sit by the pool and read my book or sit by the ocean and read my book and just have nowhere to go. I don't know why, but plans on vacation just stress me out so much.
Now, I'm not so planned out as what your husband is, but if we say we're going to be there at 12:30, then we need to leave at 12:15. And I get very antsy. And it's like, okay, are we going to leave now? And there's only 4 people, but it takes 10 minutes to get each one to stand up. Okay, now we're all standing. Now who's got the goddamn keys? Somebody find the car keys. And that takes 10 minutes to find the car keys. And finally, a half an hour later, we're in our car. Oops, but somebody forgot something. And that's back in the unit. So you got to go back into the unit and get the stuff. Oh, Sadie, I'm sorry. The older I get, the less patient.
You were just so hangry, weren't you?
The older I get, the less patient I am. I'm sorry.
So is this like your vacations are morphing because at one time you went with little Jack and he'd swim and you'd swim and it was, and then you'd golf a bunch and now that it's morphing, do you find it more enjoyable or is it kind of like, wow, do you feel like you've kind of outgrown that vacation? You want to try something new?
I felt a little guilty in the fact that here we are in paradise in Palm Desert, California, in this wonderful timeshare that we have. And it's really a pretty place and we should be doing. But we were just sitting there and we'd get up and then we'd have breakfast. And I felt a little guilty going, well, this is what I do at home. This is just like a Saturday. And then we might decide, are we going to go to lunch? All right, let's go to lunch. Where do you want to go to lunch? And it takes 2 hours to make that damn decision, and it's
just a lot.
I don't know whether I was relaxed after vacation or not, but here we are back in the saddle and something you and I did not get to talk about because it happened on the morning that I departed, Gene Hackman.
Oh, I'm so glad you brought him up.
I knew you'd.
Gosh,
I thought of you every day as the story unfolded. I thought Sadie's all about this and I'm not there to talk to her about it.
Okay, I am all about this. So much so that today I woke up not feeling very good. I just didn't feel good. It was just a mess. And so I thought today I'm going to just watch different movies. And the first one I watched was The Royal Tenenbaums because that's like one of my favorite movies, just period.
Fine movie. Dry humor, dark humor.
So good.
And Hackman, everybody always took him as like the serious actor and he played the serious roles. He was a funny son of a bitch. He had a sense of timing about him that was really good,
Yeah. So, when you end a movie and then they're like, would you like to start the next? And I'm sick. So I'm like, I don't really care. And it turned to The French Connection. Have you ever seen The French Connection?
Is classic. That is the classic Gene Hackman film. Classic.
Here's where I fell off the map.
Okay.
I don't know why, but there were no subtitles in the film. And so every time someone was speaking in French, they just talked. And I was going, I think I can guess what they're talking about. Like the man showing this woman plans and she's like, hooray. And they're drinking coffee and they're kissing. And I'm like, sure, wish I would. And then they cut back to Brooklyn where Gene Hackman's character. And you know who else is in that movie who I kind of got a crush on the guy. It's the guy from Jaws, that Roy Snyder. Roy Snyder?
Snyder. Yeah. Great actor.
Dang it. I love him. He's in that movie. But again, I kind of feel like I missed some pretty big key points. And I thought, you know what? I'll turn on closed captions.
There you go. That's smart.
I prefer it that way. Anyway, anytime we watch TV, I always want to watch closed captions. It wasn't an option with this movie. And so I just watched it not knowing the French part of the French Connection. I knew the Brooklyn part. I mean, I was kind of following that pretty good. And then they jump over to what's happening in France. And I'm like, what the hell?
So for you, the movie was just the connection. I didn't get the French.
Sort of connection from Brooklyn to this is how I would feel if I truly were, I guess, in the movie. I don't speak French. So, I mean, it's a great movie, but I'm not going to lie and say it changed my life because I didn't understand half of the things they were saying. But I also watched the movie The Substance. You have not watched it? And I'm telling you right now, Scott, do not watch The Substance. I know you.
Is Hackman in it? I mean, is Hackman in it?
No, but I wanted to kind of watch some of these movies that were, Oscar nominated. And I like the kind of stuff that The Substance is, like kind of that creepy. But I will tell you, just friendly PSA, if you have the pukes, do not watch this movie because it is full of gore and blood and splashing of blood and people are getting splashed and kidneys are falling out. And it's too far into that gross zone. Like, I love scary movies, but when it gets to be just, it was bad. It was like buckets of guts being thrown. I'm like, this is too much.
How did we get off Hackman and onto this?
I don't know. We can go back to Hackman.
Okay, let's go back to Hackman.
How crazy is it? His wife died of here's my philosophy. I've had multiple hypotheses since he died. My first hypothesis was this, Scott. I thought that maybe he died and his wife, who also passed away, Betsy, I thought maybe she was very sad. They found her surrounded by a bunch of pills. And I thought, Betsy couldn't live her life without Gene Hackman. And who can? He's a dream. Then it came out she died of the hantavirus.
Yes. Now that's odd. Now that'll take you down where you're at. And so my guess is she went down, pills in hand, and she started asphyxiating or whatever it is that the hantavirus brings on, and she died. But what they were saying that I read later on is that Hackman himself was in like kind of late stage dementia. And so he probably was unaware of the fact that she even died. He likely fell down and then that was it. And then the dog died of starvation. But, when I first heard about it on that one Friday morning, I thought, well, shoot, that's easy. That's carbon monoxide poisoning. Easy.
I know. I totally thought that too. But the dog died, I think, because it ate the pills around her body. Because there were two other dogs that were fine and the door was wide open. And so I don't know. I'm following this case like Gene Hackman was my father, but he's not. But I'm still like trying to, put the puzzle pieces together of what happened to him. But that hantavirus, that comes from mouse crap, doesn't it?
Yes. But I mean, it's if you come into contact with it, it's not like they're dirty, filthy people or something or other. I mean, if they lived in a more wilderness area, he could have been out scratching in the dirt or something or other. I mean, I've had mice that have gotten into my garage, and so if I don't clean my garage real well, that could be out there. Yeah, antivirus is something you need to be aware of, and it's not like, oh my God, people are filthy. It's just
that happens. I think any homeowner can say that they've had a mouse at some point. We used to have a mouse in our old house that we'd be sitting in the living room watching TV and it would just walk by. It didn't care. It had zero fear of us. So then, and this is probably a horrible thing to admit, but when we were selling the house, every showing, I'm like, you mouse, you better stay your ass inside till this new family comes in because cannot. Could you imagine? And we're like, and here's the living room and a mouse just doesn't run. Just lollygags right through the living room. Like, what's up, everybody? And that's essentially what it did. But I remember if I did find mouse droppings, I always thought of that weird hantavirus. And I thought, oh my God, I can't breathe this in.
The house that we've been in for 18 years now. And we've never, thankfully, knock on wood, never spotted one inside. I had them in the garage. In fact, silly old me, I bought some bird seed and kind of set it down on the floor by the car. And they got into the garage and ate that bird seed. That bird seed was everywhere. I mean, that was like catnip for the mice. They got into it. But unfortunately, we've never had them in the house. In the first house that we lived in, it was built right on the edge of a cornfield. And it was a starter house. So it wasn't built all that hot. It was kind of a loosely built house. And I was the typical, I grew up on a ranch. It didn't bother me. I've seen them before. I've dealt with them, whatever. But my wife, typical country club girl. I'm the country boy married to country club girl. And I thought, my wife has probably never been exposed to mice. And you don't know how especially somebody of the fairer sex, such as yours, is going to react to mice when they see them. It's like going to be eek, eek, and they're on top of the chairs and that kind of thing. One ran across the floor in that old house that we lived in. And of course, it ran right between the dogs. Dogs just laid there and looked at it. Ran right between. And my wife was, is that a mouse? And then she was like, son of a bitch, MF or blah, blah, blah. I mean, she was cussing it and chasing after it with like a broom. And I thought, God, no, it was exactly the same reaction that I thought she'd have. It was.
No, your wife turned into like Xena warrior princess. She's dropping the F-bomb. She gets the broom out to murder it. I mean, like, I would expect, knowing Julie, that she would scream and run away.
That was the exact opposite reaction I thought she'd have. I mean, because, her and spiders, she's eek on the chairs. Oh my God, spider, spider, spider. Honey, I don't want to tell you how many times larger you are than that spider, because you think I was saying you're fat, but you are thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions of times larger than that spider. Poke it with a Kleenex and be done.
Have you ever happened to ask your wife if she saw the 1992 thriller Arachnophobia and it completely destroyed? Because I watched that movie. I was way too young. It makes me laugh because now there are parental locks on everything. Mm-hmm. You're not allowed to watch certain things. You can only watch the iPad if you're a kid. If you're wanting to set these boundaries, you can set a timer where it'll just turn it off. You don't get any more time. We had none of that. And so I remember my parents leaving and my sisters let me watch Arachnophobia. And that scared me so bad. I still have dreams of spiders coming down from the ceiling occasionally because it messed me up so bad. Have you seen it?
Yes. It didn't bother me. All right. So we got to go back to mice. And then after that, after we're done with mice, we got to go back to Hackman because I don't feel like we're done with Hackman. All right, so back to mice. We diagnosed that we have them at 2103 Tristy Court. And oh, geez, we got to deal with these mice. And so she was like, let's march our happy ass down to Ace Hardware. And we bought decon and we bought poison and we bought all, a dozen traps. And it's like, I felt like Bill Murray in Caddyshack hunting for a gopher. Right. I had my camo on. I'm going for these damn mice. So we lay these traps out and we kind of lay them under the baseboards in the kitchen where you're supposed to lay them. And we set out this decon and all right, it's time to go to bed. And we had a main four master in that house. So we go to bed and we kind of snuggle down in and you hear just no sooner did we shut the lights off. Snap, snap. I mean, two of them went off at once. Snap, snap. And she was like, we got them. And so we ran out there and they're still twitching. They're dying.
Your wife was like, let's make love now.
I don't know why, but I'm hot for you.
Wait, what? Dead rodents?
But one of these traps that went off, we got a double. I mean, we caught two mice in one trap. I mean, they were both going for the peanut butter and it snapped and it caught them both.
Teaches you a lesson about competing.
They say for every one mouse that you catch, there's 10 that you don't.
I know. I had this amazing idea, and this is very shameful of me if we're just going to be honest on this podcast. But when we had a mouse, Ryan was like, I'll go get traps. And I said, no, I don't want to kill them. I just want to be able to. Such a hippie chick.
They should die a horrible death. And it should be excruciating. I want to hear them scream. All right, but go on.
Well, wait till what happened and you'll cheer from joy. Hey, guys, breaking in here just really quick. Give me one quick second to talk about show sponsor, Christiana Salon Spa. We are coming up, guys, at the end of the school year. I know that we're almost to spring break and we still got some time left. You know how fast that's going to go? It goes so fast and then summer is here. And then you know what's going to happen? Then you got the kids home all day long. And that could be really stressful. Maybe so stressful you break out in pimples everywhere. I mean, not only are you exhausted and tired of doing crafts and playing with Play-Doh, but now you got pimples everywhere. I mean, why not take a break and go see my friends at Christiana Salon Spa? Get a nice facial, maybe a hot stone massage. Hand the kids over to your husband and say, I'm out of here. Or vice versa. They also, I don't want to say they service men because that sounds weird, but they also have treatments for men as well. So why not go on to ChristianaSalonSpa.com? Christiana Salon Spa, a proud sponsor of the Sadie and Friends podcast. As I said, no, let's Let's buy the ones where it traps them and then we can just let them out in a field. I'll walk them to a park. They'll probably follow my ass home and it'll be a fun game. But you know what I did, Scott? I forgot I did it. And so I set out the peanut butter and the traps and I caught quite a few and they starved to death.
They died of starvation. Now, was there evidence of them eating each other because they're carnivorous?
No, I don't think so. I don't remember that horror because I was horrified that I was trying to rescue them and they died an even worse death. Because Ryan's like, with traps, it'll just snap their neck and they're done and they don't feel it. They don't know. And I'm like, how do you know they don't know? So he's like, okay, set him out. Forgot I even did it. And then they all starved to death. And I thought, what a horrific way to die. I wish they would have just had neck snap. But no, I had to be this super nice animal lady who I think I'm like Snow White. And really, it's just Death Town with these rodents.
They can live out in my yard. Have at it. You can be my friend and live out in their yard all you want. Once you come into my house, you are mine. You're fair game. And so we finally found where they were coming from at that old Tristy house. They had kind of bored out like the pipe that goes outside for the faucet, for the sprinkler faucet outside. There was a hole that was a little too big around that. And so they were working their way in through there. So you steal wool and cock that son of a gun. And that.
Hey, something that I actually heard as well, and I didn't know this, but my parents own a storage facility. And when we were moving, there was like a 9-month where they were building the house, 9 months. So we moved all of our furniture and stuff into one of their storage units. And then they told us put bars of soap like Irish Spring. And then take like those fabric softener, not fabric softener, the sheets, fabric
sheets.
And you throw them all over your stuff. It keeps the mice away because they hate the smell.
Really?
And let me tell you, after 9 months, we went through a winter, we went through spring, we went through not one hole in anything. Not a shirt had a hole in it. No, I couldn't believe it. So if anyone is listening out there who's going to move and has to store their stuff, throw some Irish Spring in there.
That'll handle it, huh?
That'll handle it, which is crazy. Okay, now back to Gene Hackman.
Back to Hackman. My all-time favorite Hackman movie is, of course, where he played a submarine captain. I think he was, give me a minute and I'll remember his name, but it was him and Denzel Washington. Crimson Tide is the name of the movie, and he is the captain on a nuclear ballistic missile submarine, the USS Alabama. And out they go to see. Your husband knows this movie back to way. If he's a man, and he's a man, sure. He knows this movie backwards and forwards. He knows every line. They're setting out to sea, and his executive officer is a young Denzel Washington, who is the lieutenant commander on this boat. And they're setting out to sea, and they're on the bridge where they're still surface, and they're setting out to sea, and they're smoking cigars. And Captain, I would say Ramey, whatever his name is. Gene Hackman's character takes a draw on that cigar, and he looks over at Denzel Washington, and he says, "Good cigar, son." And he smiles, and he looks at it. He starts to cough a little bit, and he says, "Yes, sir." And then Gene Hackman says, "That's your first?" And Denzel Washington says, "Yes, sir." And he says, "Don't like them too much. They're as expensive as crack cocaine and just as addictive." He said, I don't know.
Oh my God, that's incredibly a cool thing to say that I would never think of. Also, I've only had one cigar in my entire existence on the earth. And it was at your house, and it made me throw up on your yard.
It wasn't the cigar that made you throw up. It was the bottle of tequila that you drank.
Well, it was that, but it was also that cigar, because no one told me, like, you don't inhale a cigar. Why wouldn't you tell me that when you know, I don't smoke cigarettes. I've never done that. And so I don't know. And so I took it and I took a big hit of it and I coughed a bunch. And then later I vomited everywhere. It just hit me so hard. And you were laughing. You're like, you inhaled that cigar. I'm like, thanks for telling me.
I'm an experienced cigar smoker. I bet I smoke 300 cigars a year. I mean, it's my thing. That's what I do. And I might have one hit off a cigar, and that's if I've had a bad day. You're not supposed to
understand. Does a cigar make you feel like, would it be the same as smoking a joint? Like, does it make you feel relaxed or kind of floaty?
It has nothing to do. Now, there are tastes, and I can pick up on the different tastes. I can pick up on oaky and leathery and chocolate and anise, and I can pick up on the fancy flavors that all the cigar connoisseurs. I've gotten pretty good at picking up on that. But it's not so much the taste, although there are some that I like that taste better to me than others. It's the ritual. It's the sitting down. It's the cutting. It's the lighting. It's the sniffing. You got to. I mean, I smoke big ones, 6x60s, and it's an hour. It's an hour ritual. You can sit down, you can have a cocktail, and you are forced to sit there, and that's what I like about it. You can't.
Do you feel anything physically? Do you physically feel different?
If it's a strong one, I'll think, get a little lightheaded. But the ones that I generally smoke are medium body. Perdomo Champagne Reserve is my everyday cigar, and those are kind of more of a medium bodied cigar. And I don't get a light head, or I don't get a hit on it or anything like that. It's the ritual, and it's
like when a smoker eats a meal and then it's like triggered like Pavlov's dog, where they automatically are like, I got to go light up a sparker. Is that like, is your ritual like, it's a sunny day, I'm going to sit outside, and it's automatically you're going to smoke a cigar?
Oh, yeah. And we're getting into it. We're recording this on the 9th of March. It was a beautiful day here today, probably mid 60s. And we're starting to tease me. We're starting to get to cigar weather, and over the next few weeks, and you'll have some days where you can go outside and sit under the pergola and it's perfect. The next day it's snowing, so you don't want to get to it. But once we get into kind of late April and early May, it becomes an everyday thing for me. And it is.
Are you worried about dying of lung cancer?
But what a way to go. Now, first of all, not lung cancer, because I don't inhale. I very rarely.
Oh, I see.
Now, mouth cancer, I go to the dentist regularly. I say, look, pal, if you see anything in there that shows me, I'll back off these. And I know my dentist is a cigar smoker as well. And so he says it's a benign enough habit. I mean, it's still tobacco. Tobacco kills. But like the cigarette smokers, and look, I don't want to get down on anybody's habit. If you're a cigarette smoker, if that's your jam, whatever. By the way, know that that's going to kill you, especially if you're inhaling.
He doesn't want to come down on you, but you're going to die.
It's your choice. You want to kill yourself with those things? Go. Hey, free country.
You can die. Well, but you can die from all kinds of things. Just because you smoke cigarettes doesn't mean you're going to die from a cigarette-related death.
What's that? Well, there was a guy, and he's probably dead by now, but there was an old guy that I was all over social media a couple of years ago, and he fought in World War II, and he was like 117 years old or something like that. And he smoked like 3 cigars a day. And he was, and you see those guys, they packed a pack of Marlboro Reds a day, and they were 99 years old, yet the jogger drops over at 52,
That's what I'm saying is like, if you have a choice to smoke or jog, I'm not a doctor, but I'm just saying you should probably just hang out and smoke, because you don't know. You could get hit by a bus. And but a lot of people do those things like running races and stuff because they get a high off. Everybody is just looking for a high to escape the reality of their problem. So whether it's looking forward to a meal or a cigar or a cigarette or whatever, I think that-that's just the bottom line. People like that kind of escape. Back to Gene Hackman, damn it.
But back to Gene Hackman. And that was a great cigar. It was a great cigar. And because, by the way, what he smoked in those? Monte Cristos. Monte Cristo number 6s is what he smoked in that movie. Great cigar. If you could afford them. They're like $20 a piece.
I remember Ryan and I one year went to Las Vegas and we bought you like a box of cigars. I have no idea what to look for. I don't know what's good. I don't know what smells good. And I remember you're like, these were not very good. Do you remember that? And I'm like, I can't believe you would just say they're not good. But back to Gene Hackman, damn it.
Yes.
One of my favorite things about Gene Hackman, did you know? And I didn't know this, but did you know that he was very close friends with Dustin Hoffman? They even lived together for a while when they were young.
To me, two completely opposite people, Gene Hackman and Dustin Hoffman. Although they were in a movie together. In fact, we watched that movie in Palm Desert, because all we did was eat and watch movies.
Yeah.
And I think it was called Runaway Jury. And it also had
Matt Damon.
No, not Matt Damon.
Matthew McConaughey.
No, not Matthew McConaughey, but of that same ilk. He was in Serendipity.
Oh, John Cusack.
John Cusack, thank you,
Yeah.
was in that movie as well. And basically, they had a big gun case, and they were trying to hold the gun manufacturer liable. Typical liberal dribble, trying to hold the gun manufacturer liable for some school shooting somewhere. And it was Gene Hackman played this high level attorney to where he helped the prosecuting attorneys choose. Not prosecutors, choose jurors, and John Cusack was in it to blow him up, and so basically Gene Hackman got burnt in this movie, but Gene Hackman and Dustin Hoffman starred together in this movie.
See, that's really neat. I wonder. I found myself this weekend thinking about Dustin Hoffman, which is weird because I don't know him.
I mean, how do you? I sit around and think about so many things. Dustin Hoffman ain't one of them.
No, because I had read that they're very close, and that hurts when you lose a friend. And so I've never met Dustin Hoffman, nor will I ever probably meet him. But can I also tell you that someone tried to Me Too him when that was at the fever pitch?
Yeah.
He was like, no, you're not going to do that to me. Because apparently what he did was he told inappropriate jokes, which you and I should have been Me Too'd so long ago due to our joking, which we just like to joke around about stuff, which I think about that with Dustin Hoffman. He doesn't seem like a sexual predator to me. He's just a jokey kind of fella.
I mean, he was Tootsie, for crying out loud. How can be a sexual predator when you're Tootsie? Of course, he made cross-dressing cool. Was he trans before trans was cool? I don't know.
No, he wasn't at all. He just dressed like a lady to get a job because he couldn't find a job being a man. I can't believe he went so far. If you rewatch Tootsie, it's adorable. It's the same as Mrs. Doubtfire, where I'm like, I'd walk in the room and go, holy crap, why are you dressed like a woman? But everybody was shocked.
They both got acting gigs. Wasn't it the same? No, Mrs. Doubtfire, she was the housekeeper for her kids, or for his kids, for Robin Williams.
He lost custody and he couldn't see them, so he pretended to be the hardest thing ever to be, which is a Scottish nanny. I would blow that within 5 minutes of the interview. And what's odd to me about the movie Mrs. Doubtfire is that no one ever looked at the person's face and said, damn, Mrs. Doubtfire, you got my dad's eyes. I feel like I would see my dad in a dress and be like, Dad, you're wearing a dress.
But yet Tootsie literally got an acting gig. Right. I mean, he went as a lady so he could get an acting job on some soap opera. Right. Wasn't that, if I remember that right?
But then he kept running into problems because men were falling in love with Dustin Hoffman as Tootsie. And he was like, how do I get these dudes to leave me alone? And it's almost like
boobies.
Yeah, I know. He's like, well, you're going to be really upset when you take my shirt off. But he was so adorable in that movie. And that'll be a sad day as well. But when he passes away. But Gene Hackman, holy cow, that threw me for a loop, the whole mystery of it all. And I'm kind of glad that we now know somewhat of what happened, because before it was this is the most mysterious thing I've ever heard.
If you're 95 years old, and that's what Hackman was, right? 95 years old, apparently in late stages of dementia. I don't want to be that burden on somebody, but he fell, he went. Good long life, Academy Award winner, movie after movie after movie after movie. People talked about him for days and days and days.
And then he also retired, but he also retired for the last 20 years of his life. He was like, I'm going off the grid. I'm going to live in New Mexico with my wife, and we're just going to live our lives. And I think that there's something really cool about that. You really get the vibe that he was in it, not to sound cheesy, but for the art of it. He was good at it.
Yeah.
He didn't want the fame or the Instagram or any of that bullshit. He just was showing up because he was good.
He was good at it. He made a lot of money, enough money to retire at a gated community outside of Santa Fe. And yeah, good for him. All right.
Yes.
You got Gene Hackman out of your system?
Never. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening to today's episode of Sadie and Friends. I feel so lucky that I get to do this, and I get to do it because of sponsors, and those sponsors pay me, and then I get to do this for a job. How amazing is that? But I want you to know that I'm very picky about who I talk about. I love small business owners, like let's say Garage Door Service and Sales. Tony and Patrice, they've been running that joint for decades. Family owned and operated, locally owned and operated, handed down from generations. I probably did endorsements for them on the radio for well over a decade, almost the entire time I had a radio career. And now I'm podcasting, and they are so great to work with still. So pick up the phone and give them a call today. Maybe you got a broken spring. Maybe you want better technology. You want a more secure home. You're going to find all the perks at GarageDoorServiceandSales.com. So pick up the phone, go online, see what they have to offer. You won't be disappointed. And they're just wonderful people. It's Garage Door Service and Sales, a proud sponsor of the Sadie and Friends podcast.